This is it. Don't get scared now.
The most intense. The most horrifying. It's in your blood. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. The nightmare continues, only from Capcom.
Alright then, don't know if I agree with all that, but okay. Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Game Reserve. My name is Jagger Newman, and I'm the War in these parts. And yeah, another pre-recorded video for you. Once again, out doing something with my girlfriend tonight. You know, as much as I love video games, if you got a chick, pick between playing a video game and spending time with your lovely girlfriend. Yeah, you should probably go out with the pretty girlfriend, shouldn't you? But I wanted to leave you guys something pre-recorded. So tonight we're crossing off the next game on our horror list, headed to the 32-bit era, and the last game on the PS1 as far as numbered Resident Evil games go, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Though the name is a little misleading, because if you know anything about this franchise, you know that Resident Evil 3 isn't exactly the third entry in the series. Now a lot of people might be asking, what the hell do you mean by that? It clearly says Resident Evil 3. Well, let's back it up a little bit. So when Resident Evil came out, it was, of course, a landmark. It's a game that popularized the horror genre in video games, period. It coined the term survival horror. And it was a big hit, and so was Resident Evil 2, which was an even bigger hit. And a lot of people say that Resident Evil 2 perfected the survival horror genre, or at least for what it was at the time. So, people were really excited for the next game in the series, but they were coming up on the end of the 32-bit era, and the team behind Resident Evil 2 thought that they had tapped out everything that could have been done on the original PlayStation. So they set their sights on the next generation, which for them was the Sega Dreamcast. However, they didn't want to leave their fans on the PlayStation out to dry, so while they worked on Resident Evil 3 on the Dreamcast, they also started work on a spin-off title for the PlayStation. However, behind closed doors, something very weird was going on as far as corporate matters were concerned. Resident Evil games were huge sellers for the PlayStation brand. They actually moved software, so when Sony got word that Capcom was planning to make a follow-up to the series on the Dreamcast, they were, of course, concerned. So they went to Capcom and offered them an exclusivity deal. So when one of the big three makes you a deal like that, you really don't have a choice but to say yes to it. Unfortunately, because of where they were at in development, they couldn't just, abandon both games and move everything to the PlayStation. So another deal was struck. Capcom could release any Resident Evil game they wanted to on any other console, as long as the numbered one stayed on PlayStation. Capcom execs agreed to this, under the guise that Resident Evil 3 would be easy to move over to the PlayStation, only to find that that just was not going to happen. So they took a very simple solution. They just changed the titles around. So Resident Evil 3 would become Resident Evil Code Veronica, and Resident Evil Nemesis would become Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. And I think that I've heard some conflicting rumors about that story, and like all the information I get is secondhand, so I have no idea if it's true or not. But I am inclined to believe the story, especially if you've played Resident Evil 3. While it is not bad by any stretch of the imagination, it's nowhere near as good as the original Resident Evil, and especially Resident Evil 2. However, Resident Evil 3 still has its fans, and it was popular enough to get a remake as a follow-up to the Resident Evil 2 remake. So, yeah, it's worth covering, and you know, once I'm done with this next year, I can look at other PlayStation horror games. So let's go ahead and get this started, shall we? As to how I am going to be playing this game tonight, I actually have Resident Evil 3 Nemesis digitally on my PlayStation 3. So got a nice clean picture for you guys, and it's the PlayStation 1 version, so it has the auto aim and everything, all that good stuff. This is a pretty readily available game, though. How I've been playing it recently is via my PlayStation 5 with PlayStation Plus, so yeah, not a hard game to play if you really want to. And there's that title card that I love so much. I didn't even grow up with PlayStation either. No, you think? I think the title Nemesis was left over from when this was just Resident Evil Nemesis. Kind of mixed feelings about the title screen. You know, what the background just kind of blends in a little too easily, and Nemesis is kind of overpowering there. It just kind of feels like they plastered Resident Evil 3 over top of it. But, you know, I've seen worse. It's not too bad. Normal mode or hard mode? Well, I'm only going to play for an hour, so let's try hard mode. It's also a little weird that this game has a subtitle, whereas every other Resident Evil game is just Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 4. It's the only one that has a subtitle.
No one dared to oppose them, and that lack of strength would ultimately lead to their destruction.
I don't think that anyone didn't want to oppose them. It's more like they were paid off.
Forgiveness. If only they had had the courage to fight. It's true that once the wheels of justice begin to turn, nothing can stop them. Nothing. It was
Yeah, if you're watching this, buddy,
and my last chance.
that's gonna be you here soon.
Last escape.
What am I saying? He's not watching this. I don't want to know what that guy does in his spare time. Credit where credit is due. These are some really impressive pre-rendered graphics, too. Like, though it is still very primitive CGI, like, the detail, especially how gory the zombies are, the lighting, it's all really cool. Like, they've gotten really good at this point. Though I, of course, find this a little silly, like, again, with a lot of zombie media, they have to operate under the assumption that stuff like Night of the Living Dead, Zombieland, or Resident Evil doesn't exist, so I can't help but find this silly. I don't think a zombie plague like this would be as big a deal. I think it would be dealt with very quickly. Seriously, dude, at that range, put the barrel to the zombie's head. What are you doing? Drama queen. Not sure what the hell happened there, but... well, looks like we're being thrown, how's the saying go, out of the frying pan and into the fire. Ah, this ain't good. Turn around and run.
September 28th, daylight. The monsters have overtaken the city.
If I'm not mistaken, that takes place a day before Resident Evil 2. And later in the game, cuts to a day after Resident Evil 2. So, yeah, the events of this game run concurrently to Resident Evil 2. That's kind of a neat idea, seeing Racoon City from a different perspective.
Gotta get out of here.
What? What do you think you're talking about? I just lost my daughter out there. How dare you tell me to go back outside?
I'm sorry about your daughter, but there isn't gonna be any rescue. We have to get out of here.
No! I'm not going anywhere. I'd rather starve to death in here than be eaten by one of those undead monsters. Now leave me alone!
I think it would still be eaten at some point. They're going to find their way in there eventually. Come on, guy.
I'm not leaving! Never! Just get away from me.
Alright, guy, if that's what you want. Alright, so the first thing we always talk about are the controls, and yeah, Resident Evil 3 still uses the tank controls, so like I said in the past couple of times I've covered Resident Evil, it is kind of necessary for the fixed camera angle, so when the camera jumps like that, if you were to have analog control, when you move to the net screen, she would just spaz out all over the place because the inputs keep flopping. It is a necessary evil, but that's also kind of why I still hate the fixed camera angles with the pre-rendered backgrounds and everything. It's just very frustrating to deal with, especially since you can get the same feel without any of that stuff. To use your weapons, you just ready it like that, and you push a button to fire. I'm not going to fire right now because I don't want to waste my ammo, but one thing that I do like about Resident Evil 2 is that's the first game to incorporate a quick turnaround feature. So how you do that is you pull back and press the sprint button, and you do a quick 180, whereas before you would have to rotate like that. So that's a really good feature. There's also a sort of dodge move where if you hit the ready weapon button just as an enemy attacks, you'll dodge them, become invincible for a brief second. So yeah, it's not bad. But anyway, you guys have heard me talk enough. You, of course, want to be sure you take a look around for supplies. I'll never object to some ammo. Ammo's like gold in this game. Oh yeah, and you can sprint by holding the run button too. As far as the presentation is concerned, this also looks pretty damn good. They've really gotten good with the pre-rendered backgrounds and everything. The lighting is even changing on Jill herself too. Perspective is great. It really does look like Jill is there. So yeah, they've definitely got it down to a science at this point. That being said, I am not fond of Jill's design in this game. I'm not sure what the deal with the tube top is or the mini skirt or boots. Of all the things that Jill could wear in this situation, why she decided to go with that ensemble, I have no idea. Maybe she just got caught having a night on the town when all this happens and she didn't have time to change. But even then, I still don't see Jill wearing something like that. what else? From what I understand, Jill wasn't originally intended to be the main character in this game. It just kind of happened. Originally, it was supposed to be a completely new character, but at the last minute, they decided to make Jill the main playable character, so the design was probably intended for someone else, but they still decided to use it for some reason. Alright, so what is this I'm picking up over here? So it's one of the key items in this game, which is the gunpowder. So how this works is you have your gunpowder here, and you combine that with the reloading tool up here, and that will make you more ammo. At first I wasn't a big fan of that. Like, I would have just preferred like the ammo already be made and out in the open. So, because if you find gunpowder out in the world, it's essentially useless unless you have the reload tool. But then I realized you can, you know, combine the various powders together before you use the reload tool, and that'll give you different ammo. So it adds another layer to the survival. What do you need more? Handgun ammo, shotgun ammo, grenade launcher stuff? It actually is a good feature. I like it. And it would continue in the remakes as well. And they would wisely choose to get rid of the reload item too, so you can just mix them together on the spot, which was a smart move. And just like previous games, saves are scarce, so you gotta think about this. So my general rule of thumb is save every time you find ink ribbons and every time you come across a new save room. I should probably ditch the reload tool for now as well, because it's just taking up space. I still wish that they had a separate inventory for your items and everything, so that stuff like the keys and everything doesn't take up space that could be for healing items or ammo. And I know that would be counterintuitive to the survival horror thing, but to fix that, you just gotta get rid of an inventory slot. It wouldn't be until Resident Evil 7 that they would start to fix that, though it would sort of come back with Resident Evil 2 Remake as well. Alright, got everything I can do here, so let's head out into the big bad world. Yep. Not gonna let that take up space in my inventory. It's quiet. Too quiet. I'm also not a big fan of the saying in this game. You know, in previous games, you're always sort of trapped in a certain location that was explorable. But here you have Racoon City to explore. And it just makes you feel like you have a little more freedom than you would in other games. So, yeah, not a huge fan of that. Alright. What we have here. The atmosphere is still pretty effective, though. Okay, not gonna deal with those guys right now. Hopefully I can get around them so I can save ammo. It has been a while since I played this game. I've only played it once before, honestly. Well, twice before. I was playing it earlier in preparation for the showcase here. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, it's best to try to avoid fighting if you can. No sense in wasting ammo if you don't need to. Whoop! Man, that's a lot of zombies. Of course it's locked from the other side. When is it not locked from the other side? No way to go forward, so just take this guy out. My general method for seeing if something is off camera is there. You just turn away and see if the auto aim picks anything up. Combat is still kind of boring. You just kind of retreat to a safe distance and then just hope you kill the zombie before it closes the distance. Not a whole lot of depth to it. Which is kind of frustrating because one of the mission statements of Resident Evil Nemesis was to create a more action-oriented experience, but I've always hated that mindset with these old survival horror games because these games were all about surviving and resource management. Combat was always one of the weaker aspects of it. So trying to make a game that emphasizes the action was always just a really dumb idea, if you ask me. If I'm not mistaken... Yep, let's see what's down here. That's where this guy bolted out of earlier. Whoop. Back off, Jack. Just gotta make sure that he bleeds. What we have here. Lighter oil. Not sure what good that's gonna do me. Ugh. Someone had a bad day here. But I think I'll help myself to his boomstick. Groovy. Yeah, man. Always creepy when the zombies pulsate like that. Alright, got the shotgun, so let's see where this goes. Got some healing items here, too. I've always heard that there's supposed to be an element of randomization to Resident Evil 3, but honestly... Like, every time I play it, everything seems to be in the same spot, so I don't know how true that is. Maybe that's only on repeated playthroughs, but even if it is true, it sounds like it'd be more cumbersome than anything, because whether or not you have a balanced experience really just comes down to a roll of the dice. It doesn't seem like a very good idea to me. Alright, there's something out here. Okay, get over to this side so I can dodge them, or... Ah, crap. One of the joys of tank controls. Someone sounds like they're having a bad day. And that's probably a guy who's having a bad day. Up this way. Whoa, did that thing just spit acid? That's kind of metal. Looks like we got some more healing items. I think I'll mix a couple of these together. Alright, is there any way for me to get out of here, up here? Can't interact with that, can't go in through the window. Looks like I'm gonna have to take some of these guys out. Alright, maybe I can blow their heads off with a shotgun, let's see. Swallow this. Oh great, now they're ankle biters. Okay, I guess I can't get them from up here. Let's try the pistol. I just can't get them up from up here, so see if I can draw them over here. And then I'll duck down. Oh, map. That'll be useful. And since they're down, I'll just kind of leave them there. Alright, I think I'm good for now. Uh-oh. That's always satisfying. 2 for the price of 1. That's how I like to do it. I guess I got a critical shot with that guy. Wasted a bullet, though. That sucks. Alright. Let's see what was over this way.
Get away!
Yeah, I think you were supposed to shoot at him, but I knew he would survive, so I just saved my ammo.
Brad, hang in there. Why isn't someone doing something about this?
I didn't know you were still alive, Jill. The police aren't trained for this kind of situation. What could they do? Listen.
Seriously, who doesn't know that the way you kill a zombie is to blow the head off?
What are you saying?
You'll see. He's after STARS members. There's no escape.
Yeah, and people who have played this game know exactly what he's talking about, too. What we got here? Foreshadowing. Alright, let's check behind the bar. There's always some shotgun shells or something behind the bar counter. And there is handgun bullets. Let's see. Something shiny over here. Lighter, and I think I combined this. So now I have a working lighter. Let's see where that guy got off to. I think this just takes me out front again. Alright, so where the hell am I going? Sales office, so... Honestly, I have no idea, so... Might actually be better go back out the way I came. I think there was another way I could go in that one alley. This does seem like it'd be a nice bar to hang out in, though. I wonder if this was just an area where people who worked at the bar let their kids play. Doesn't look too safe though, does it? I don't know, this place just doesn't have the same mystique that, what was it? The Spencer Mansion or, the Racoon City Police Department did. I always thought that the Racoon City Police Department was the scariest location for a game like this, because it seems like that should be a place where you would be safe if something like this were to happen. So the fact that it's already been compromised, bah! Oh, balls. Thankfully, I know exactly what to do in this situation. Take aim. Wait for it. Steady. 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 What now? You undead flesh eaters. Yeah, so you have a separate button for stuff like that. You hold the R1 button and you'll aim at an enemy. But if you hold the R2 button, you'll aim at a destructible element like that. So yeah, a nice element of strategy to it. I like it. It's always fun when you get to blow a bunch of zombies to bits like that. Okay, let's see here. I think I'm going to leave those for now. I can come back for them later. Like in the previous games, there is plenty of backtracking in this game, so you'll be covering a lot of the same ground a good deal. Use the lighter to get through here. Not sure why the rope is covered in grease, though. You're a dog somewhere. Oh, there he is. Man, I hate having to shoot the dogs. It makes me feel really bad. Especially when you get a kill shot. There's one thing I'm wondering about, though. In previous Resident Evil games, when you see Jill's desk, in the original game you saw that she had a picture of herself with a man on there. A lot of people assume this was Jill Valentine's boyfriend, but it was never confirmed or denied, but when the remake came out, they replaced it with an image of her with a dog, so make of that what you will. Looks like we got some gunpowder here. I need more space in my inventory, though. Ditch some of these healing items, save them for later. No, I don't want to put away my shotgun. I don't know why I didn't grab the reload tool while I was in there. Alright, let's see what we can make. No. Definitely need some handgun ammo. And what does the yellow do? So that gives you some shotgun ammo. That's also good. Alright, I'll put this away for now. Put up the lighter, because I don't think I'll need that for a while. Alright, that should be good. Is there any ink ribbons in here? Doesn't look like it, but I'm still gonna save anyway. Try to save when you come to a new save room if you can. At least checkpoint your progress a little bit. Alright, put the ink ribbons up and then we'll move on. Alright, let's get to it. Seriously, Jill, why are you wearing what you are? Yeah, I think she would change at some point during this story, too. And this place really has seen better days. Hey, look, there's our RIPD right there. Did I just say RIPD? Man, it seems like forever ago when that movie came out. Uh-oh. Ooh. Oh, no. Yeah, and the game's namesake, Nemesis. So sometimes when you encounter him, you gotta make a choice. Fight the monster, enter the police station. Well, I'm gonna enter the police station, because I'm not gonna try to fight that frickin' thing. I don't have a death wish. Nice to see that those doors hold at least. Yeah, me saying that like I don't already know what's gonna happen. Well, definitely covering some familiar ground too. They probably included this section of the game just to save some time on assets. Just like in Resident Evil 2, it's very creepy how quiet this place is. Not too worried about not having an ink ribbon right now. Not exactly a save room. Alright, so there's some stuff I gotta go find first. Oh, balls. Anything in the lockers? Doesn't look like it. Okay, so they're coming around there, so I'll go this way. Ah, crapola. Ah. There's usually some ammo in here. Yeah, not much of a point to reading it this time. They don't tell the same compelling narrative that they did in the previous two games. And now I'm stuck, or maybe not. Zombies seem to be a bit more aggressive in this game, I find. They seem to move at a brisker pace. What do we have here? I can fix that. Oh wait, I think I remember the code to this. Let's see if it works. I just sequence broke the game, that's great. Now I don't have to go hunting. Back off. Did I get them all? I think I got them all. No reason to go into the hallway now. Whoop. I wish they were faster to fall over when you get a kill shot. That way you wouldn't waste ammo like that. Alright, let's have a look-see. Definitely need to clear up some space in my inventory, that's for sure. It's great that they still have the sub-storage bins, too. Alright, let's get at that ammo now. And is there an ink ribbon here? Is that what I'm seeing on the table there? Yes. So we'll save again. Anything of value in here? Doesn't look like it. Alright, let's make some ammo and then let's move on. I got 15 minutes left on the showcase. Oop, didn't mean to do that. It is nice that you actually do get quite a bit of ammo in this game, which is probably put in place to offset the fact that enemies respawn a lot more frequently than they did in later games. Alright, let's head upstairs. Check out the STARS office. There's gotta be some good weapons in there. Hey! Is it just me, or are there more zombies here than there were when Leon was making his way through here? Hold off on replenishing my health. Always is a little concerning seeing Jill walk like that. Get some health items when I get back to the save room. Is that a box of ammo on the floor? Doesn't look like it. Yeah, Chris must be a good shot. Was the captain of Wesker. Of STARS, I mean. Always count on Barry to have some ammo. What do we have here? I guess I should get those lock pits. After all, Jill is the master of unlocking things, or however that line is. Another one of the great Jill sandwiches. What is all this? Alright, what we got in here? Okay, last time I played this, it was actually a Magnum, so yeah, things do mix around a little bit. That's a good draw, though, I will say. Alright, let's get out of here. Maybe Nemesis has gone away.
No. Come anyone. Our platoon is cut off. No survivors found. This is Carlo. Send in support immediately.
Oh, someone's in trouble out there. I guess I better go save him. Alright, let's get out of here. Wait, can I get in through this door? Do have lockpicks now. I guess not. Some zombies probably broke in. Oh, that's like, whoa! Okay, now we're running. He's not supposed to find another way in? Well, I'm probably safe now, I bet. It's not like he can come through doors like that. Ah, crap. Ah! Wait, what's that? Oh, hell! He's in the room with me. That's not supposed to happen. Me saying it like I had never played this game. Of course he can come into doors. That's part of what makes him so scary. But it's time to run. In fact, I'm going to pop some health. Just so I can run smoothly. So yeah, throughout the game, Nemesis will chase after you. And while you can turn and fight him, the game heavily pushes you to run away. It's kind of like fighting a Terminator. You can take him down, and you do get some good goodies if you can. But it's easier said than done. Trying to put as much distance between him and me as I can, though. Definitely need to steer clear of that guy. Yeah, so Nemesis here sort of laid the groundwork for Mr. X in the Resident Evil 2 remake. It's weird how he was done better there than he was in the RE3 remake. What we got here? Never object to ammo. Yeah, so these Umbrella mercenaries are basically sent in to clean up the mess, though I think they were basically expected to fail, and they had other things that they needed to do, too. Weird that they never encounter Hunk, though. That would have been a cool thing to see. Alright, 4 minutes left on the stream. Let's see where we can get to from there. Well, I guess I can't use that to pry out the bullets. Bolts, I mean. We got here blue herbs. I think we're gonna pass for now. Sounds like something fun is happening over here. Wow! Doggies! I don't want to shoot the dogs, so I'm just gonna run. I hate shooting the dogs. It makes me feel bad. Zombies, degens, all those types. Got no problem with shooting them, but, you know, I just feel really bad about shooting a dog. Definitely gonna need that at some point. Plus, I think we're coming up on another save room, so... Ow! No biting! I said no biting! Stupid dogs. Stupid dog! You made me look bad! Ooga booga booga! We have... Yay, more ammo! Oh man, it is so comforting to have triple digits. Got more ink ribbons here. Oh, I can't carry any more items, so... Clear everything out. I'll leave the grenade launcher here for now. Wait, I meant to save. Alright, clear out the inventory and we're gonna move on. Actually, coming up on the end of the stream, so probably no point in even doing that. I would call this a good place to stop. Okay, so Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Based on what I played so far, probably doesn't seem like it's that much different from Resident Evil 2. And honestly, that is kind of the problem. Now, it's not to say that Resident Evil 3 doesn't include some cool gameplay innovations. The powder mechanic, that actually is a good one. It adds a layer of strategy to the survival. Nemesis was a great addition. Just, you know, this Terminator-style enemy that you have really no choice but to run from. And some great additions to the controls, too, like the quick turnaround. But for everything Resident Evil 3 does right, it also does something a little funky. I'm not a big fan of the randomization aspect. It just makes everything feel a little inconsistent and haphazard, especially when the enemies start respawning randomly. And it also is a lot shorter. There's only one campaign with this game, whereas in the previous Resident Evil games, you had 2 campaigns. So this game is a lot shorter too. There is a lot of replay value, but not as much as previous games. Like, you just play Resident Evil 3, and it just feels like it was intended to be a spin-off rather than a sequel. More like Resident Evil 2.5 as opposed to a proper Resident Evil 3. It doesn't continue the story in any meaningful fashion. It doesn't, innovate on the gameplay in any meaningful way either. It really is just, Resident Evil 2, but with a twist. But at the same time, it's still Resident Evil 2 with a twist. And, while I'm not a big fan of these old school survival horror games, I do admit they are still a lot of fun to play around this time of year. So, while I would still definitely suggest modern gamers play the Resident Evil 2 remake, maybe not the Resident Evil 3 remake. I honestly wasn't a huge fan of that one either. But if you're big into game design, Resident Evil 3 is still worth checking out. But that's going to do it for tonight, guys. If you enjoyed tonight's content, please be sure to like and subscribe. I do these videos every Saturday at 8 o'clock. What I do is take a game, play for an hour, just talk about the design, the history, the artistry of it all. Love talking about that stuff. Love sharing it with everyone. What I do not do is play games from start to finish because I feel like you lose something if you aren't playing the game yourself. That being said, if there's any game you'd like me to cover in this format, please leave it in the comments. If I think it's worth looking at, I'll be sure to check it out. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Hope you all have a good work week, and I'll see you next time.